As President-elect Donald Trump prepares to take office, questions loom about his impact on the crypto markets. Crypto bulls are optimistic about the regulatory landscape, but there could be some political headwinds on the horizon. We're navigating how to play crypto miner stocks, the Yahoo Finance playbook. And joining us now is Brian Dobson, Senior Research Analyst at Clear Street. Brian, great to see you.
Thanks for having me today.
So before getting into the miners, let me get your take on Bitcoin generally, because it's an interesting spot we're in, Brian, in that obviously remarkable run, right? We hit 108,000. Then it feels like we're taking a bit of a breather. You know, we dropped back to 98,000. Bloomberg had an interesting piece too, noting investors yanked a net $333 million from BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust ETF on Thursday. They say that was the most withdrawn since the fund launched a year ago, Brian. So I'm curious, when you look at the landscape here, is it just a breather or is it the start of something else? What do you make of it?
I think it's just a breather, and things tend not to move up in a straight line, right? And it's interesting that you call out that redemption level, right? Because on a nominal basis, it's probably the largest redemption because Bitcoin has nearly doubled over the past 6 months, right? So people are seeing those gains, they're thinking about what they can do with that money, and they're taking some profits off the table. But I don't think Bitcoin is done here.
And I'm curious what the outlook for miner stocks is. So I used Valkyrie's Bitcoin Miners ETF just to sort of group them together, and I was trying to compare it to Bitcoin. I looked over the last 6 months. That ETF is only up about 10%. Bitcoin's up more than 60% in that time frame. How do miners trade compared to Bitcoin? Because it seems like at least over the last 6-month run we've had in Bitcoin, the correlation isn't Bitcoin up, miners up the same amount.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And the reason for that is because not all miners are created equal, and not all miners hodl their Bitcoin balances, right? So you'll see stocks like CleanSpark or Marathon vastly outperforming that ETF, and it's because they've held onto the coin and they've gotten the leverage from the upcycle in Bitcoin. Also, there are some Bitcoin miners that are struggling to perform here, and you're seeing many of those models try to pivot to other arenas like high-performance computing in order to maintain their multiple and investor interest.
And so when you're looking for miner stocks, then, are you looking for miners that do keep their Bitcoin on their balance sheet then?
Yeah, so there's two different types of miners you can look at, and I like them both, right? I like miners that have a pathway to pivot into high-performance computing, and I like miners that are efficient operators that hodl their balances, like CleanSpark.
And what would be, if you were looking for pure plays, Brian, what would be some names you would highlight?
CleanSpark would be my favorite in the sector. I would highlight
and
CleanSpark.
Why that one particularly?
In my view, CleanSpark has a best-in-class management team, very efficient mining fleet, and an ability to generate high EBITDA ROIC on investment in miners. Also, the company is exploring various avenues to generate yield on its HODL portfolio, which is really exciting. A couple of management teams have talked about this in 2024. No one's really articulated it. I think CleanSpark is going to be the first one to first base as far as generating that yield return.
We can't talk about crypto in 2025 without talking about politics, right?
That's right.
I'm curious, what are you watching for overall from this administration that's supposed to be quote unquote friendlier with crypto? What actually needs to happen for this to benefit miners?
Well, the one thing that I'm looking for and I'm most excited about is the approval of an in-kind exchange from the Securities and Exchange Commission. So right now, Bitcoin miners can't take their coin and bring it to a Bitcoin ETF and get shares in that ETF, right? But if that rule were to change, and it doesn't seem too arduous to have it changed, Bitcoin miners would be able to do that, and then they could take those shares, bring them to their prime brokerage partner, and participate in securities lending income, right? Essentially generating a 2 or 3% interest rate on their HODLs by loaning out those shares for people that want to short it, the same way that you generate income loaning out traditional equities.
So those are the potential catalysts there, Brian. I'm just curious, as you think through risks for this group, what would be on your radar of worries?
Sure. Well, on my radar of worries would be, onerous regulation in crypto, which I think is probably a low probability event, and also a loss of confidence in the coin, which I think over the past 12 months you've seen increased investor confidence in the coin. There were some banking scares. During those banking scares, Bitcoin rallied, showing that people were engaging in a flight to quality. I think that all bodes well for Bitcoin.
And overall, for Bitcoin miners, Do you need Bitcoin to be going, like, do we need to see a massive rally in Bitcoin in 2025 for miners to continue to benefit, or is that not necessarily how the trade works when we're thinking about investing in miners?
Yeah, I don't think that you need to see a massive rally in Bitcoin, right? You just need to see these miners continue to mine the coin efficiently, and you also have to look for the global hash rate or global difficulty rate not to ramp excessively. And I don't think that's going to happen because there's a bottleneck in the manufacturing of mining rigs, right? So that global hash rate probably won't be able to ramp too fast at this point.
Brian, I appreciate your time and those picks.
Yeah, excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.